MBA Alumni panel, and we're focused on specifically regions. So you'll notice with our event listings that you can join any of our virtual events that are focused primarily in different regions. And so today we're here with 3 alumni that are going to share their experiences. I want to give you just a few things about this session. So this is mainly about the Sloan Fellows experience and what our students' life is like. If you are interested in finding out more about the specific application tips and you have more questions about that, take a look at our website. Feel free to join us as we move forward with more information specific to the application. And thank you for all these faces on your screen. You'll see my colleague Catherine, who's joining us to answer questions, as well as our alumni who are here to talk specifically about their experience. Thank you for being with us. I'm so excited to get us started, and you'll get to hear from these alumni very shortly. And I want to just remind everyone that today we want to answer your questions. And so we ask that you use the Q&A feature that's here on Zoom to start sending us questions. I have a few slides of information. I'll get started. And just as you're thinking of questions, you can pop them in the Q&A. And between Catherine and myself and our wonderful alumni here, we'll get answers to many of those questions. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Rachel Ferreira, as I mentioned, and I'm an assistant director here at MIT Sloan. I'm just one of a large team that's here to support your application and your experience moving into business school. I wanted to start by sharing our mission. MIT is a mission-driven school, and our mission of the MIT School of Management is to develop principled and innovative leaders who improve the world and to generate ideas that advance management practice. Everything that we do here at MIT Sloan, including our curriculum, the supports that we offer students, all fall in line with this mission. And just in terms of where the Sloan Fellows program fits into our portfolio of programs, you'll see on this slide that we are going to be spending our time today talking about the Sloan Fellows program, which on average is 10 to 25 years of professional experience. And you'll notice that this is just one of our programs among many. So if you are still deciding what program you are eligible for or makes the most sense for you, you can always check out our website to find out more about the rest of the Sloan MIT programs. Now, as we're talking about MIT Sloan Fellows, I just want to give a little overview. It is a 1-year program, and it is full-time experience. The opportunity includes an option for an MBA. You can add a thesis if that's something that you're interested in. And this also includes an MS in management or management of technology. The curriculum itself is rigorous, data-driven, and is focused in general management. It is flexible and customizable, and we really want to make sure all of our students have an action-oriented experience. And so you're really able to solve today's problems while also getting this extra credential. You will also have access to resources across the broader MIT community, and we really want to make sure our students are fully immersed in their learning environment, and then also have access to a global fellows community of alumni and people all over the world once graduated. The ideal candidate for us as you're starting to think about your application to business school, what we're looking for Sloan Fellows is we're looking for people who have 10 or more years of experience post-bachelor's degree, and that means full-time work experience. We do want to see leadership and management experience. We do want to see your commitment to learning about a global perspective or the exposure that you already have to the global community and how business connects. We want our students to be willing to push boundaries and challenge the status quo. And we are looking for students who are quant comfortable. There are a number of ways for candidates to show us their quantitative abilities. So it's something to keep in mind. Definitely attend a future session on our application tips, and we can explain more about what we mean about quant comfortable. We do need our students to communicate effectively in English, and we want to make sure our students are committed to learning and self-improvement. It's part of how to make sure you get the most out of your program. just a bit more about the Sloan Fellows class. So you'll see this is the class of 2024. And if you're wondering about the class makeup and what it looks like, it's a size of about 113 students. And you can see here by the numbers, the number of countries represented. This is largely an international program. 40 countries are represented. And on average, we had about 14.5 years of work experience. You can see the median EA test scores here, as well as some of the pre-MBA industry details if you're curious about how your application would fit in for the Sloan Fellows program. Okay, great. So while you're here is to meet our panelists. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you here. And I'm wondering if I'm just going to turn it over to you and if you could start by introducing yourself. And I know for our audience, they would love to hear a little bit about what you were doing and where you were before your MBA and what you're doing now and where you are now. And whoever's ready can go ahead and start. Karen, you're first on my screen if you wanted to start.
Okay, my name is Karen. I attended SFMBA program class 2023, and I was working as a management consultant in BCG in Tokyo office before the program, and also I'm now joining BCG Boston office. And also I have two kids who is 8 years old and 7 years old now, and I will have another baby in this October. So I think I am the person who enjoys the family-friendly aspect of this program. So if you have any question on that kind of aspect, please let me know.
Thank you, and congratulations, Karen.
Thank you.
I go next?
Oh, yes, please.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Purushottam Avasthi. I come from India. Prior to my SFMBA experience, I was working in a medical equipment firm called Varian Medical Systems, which is the world's biggest cancer care company. Post my MBA, I went back to healthcare as an industry, and I now work with Siemens Healthineers in Singapore. Originally, the plan was to find a relevant position in the Western markets, but as luck would have it, I'm back to Asia Pacific in a regional leadership position. I joined the cohort with my wife and two daughters, and as Karen mentioned, it's a thoroughly international program, but it's also a very family oriented environment. And the reason or the ambition or the motivation to bring your family along is an essential part of the experience, because your family, your kids tend to grow with you during the program, and as a family you tend to understand the delta of where you were together as a unit before the program and after the program. So I am extremely encouraged by the fact, and I'm thoroughly supportive of the fact that it's a great family community, not just an MBA, and that family bond that people establish during the cohort is what probably separates the SF MBA from the normal 2-year MBA, right? So, and my experiences and everything else, we would of course talk about it, but yeah, that's about my background, my experience, and my before and after the program.
Thank you so much for touching on that. We are waiting for one more panelist to join us, so I'm hoping that we'll just stay here for a moment. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what drew you to the MBA here at MIT Sloan. If you can think back about your application process, was there something that stood out to you? What really ended up making this a program of interest for you?
So I'm aware that Anuja is delayed. She has a work call conflict, so she'll probably be with us in about 10 minutes or 15 minutes time behind the start time. So she could be here any moment, but I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. What drew me to the program? So what drew me to Sloan probably was its focus on technology and innovation, and be it any industry, any function, as all of us have experienced the way technology has disrupted most sectors, most functions in the last 15 odd years, if not 10. So I felt it was important to reskill uh, whatever I had done in the past and get a layer of technology on top of it. So that was a first, let's say, academic or a professional expectation. Second, I visited Sloan in person 2 or 3 times, along with visiting many other business schools, right? So I was fortunate enough to be visiting US on work, and I used to utilize some time after my work in the United States in visiting schools, meeting faculty, meeting existing students, and understanding their motivation and their experience. So before I applied, I think I had interviewed close to 20 alums, and I've spoken to at least 5 faculties in depth about the real value and the real advantage of going through a middle age MBA program. And then, of course, you tend to marry all of what you've learned through the experiences of others. You try and custom fit that into your personal professional goals and your personal goals. And for me, Sloan just happened to be a part of the entire scheme of things because of, let's say, three broad reasons that probably made Sloan my number one choice. Uh, the first is the action learning projects. So, as a consultant turned entrepreneur, I was very, very close to execution oriented projects. So, I'm like I worked with McKinsey, Parthenon for about 10 years. Like Karen, I have a consulting background and I topped it up with 6 years in private equity, focused on portfolio operations and execution. So I was somebody who was very driven to do a P&L role in the industry subsequently. And I wanted to immerse myself in action learning projects during my MBA, which is essentially, or in layman's term, applying what you're learning in school simultaneously in an industrial environment, right? Doing live projects with companies of interest to you. So, action learning was one. Second was, of course, Sloan's or MIT's ecosystem, the larger university ecosystem that allows you not just to be a part of a business school, but also take advantage of the breadth of the university. As one of the best universities ever for technology and engineering, I took great advantage of that by taking courses in the School of Data Sciences, in the media labs, in so many other functions and disciplines within the MIT ecosystem, which are beyond the realm of a typical business school. So, from an education standpoint, I would encourage candidates to consider the larger ecosystem beyond Sloan, like the larger MIT ecosystem, and that probably tends to build a lot of lateral muscles that you never know you would build while you're at MIT. And third is was more personal, that reason was Boston as a location. Being a healthcare and biotech person, Boston is the mecca of that sector. There is a lot of private equity environment here. There's a lot of healthcare environment here. Sloan and HBS, the two sister institutions that you get to access as a part of SFMBA students, are probably the leading anchors of both these industries in Boston. So you tend to take advantage of the geographical positioning of the school for your professional networking, right? So the entire journey of curating a job once you're in school begins the day you join the school. And the geography of the school, the ecosystem of the school tends to give you a much bigger kicker had you been, let's say, somewhere on the West Coast, somewhere in the central part of the US, versus being in the heart of the action. So for me, Boston was the place to go. And those three reasons summed it up for me on why MIT.
Thank you so much. And you touched on the topic areas we're going to go through today in terms of the curriculum, your career, as well as the community here at Sloan. So thank you for that. Karen, please share any of your thoughts.
I think that Prushan already mentioned a lot of aspects, but I agree with that. Especially that for me, the very important aspect of SFMBA is that this program has very strong international experience opportunity. For me, it's my first time to living outside of Japan, in fact. So I think that that should be very hard for me. But it turned out that there is a lot of international students like me, and for me, this is the biggest step in my life. And I finally I could move to the Boston office from Tokyo office. So that kind of aspect, like international aspect, is very big for me. And also that it's also already mentioned, but this program is very good for middle career, not kind of like the very young kind of 2 years MBA, because there's a lot of leadership kind of programs for middle or senior kind of people. And there is also the full of opportunities to meet the senior management in real companies. That is very good experience for me also. And yeah, so I also have a lot of opportunity to learning the viewpoint from the senior management. And finally, it's also already mentioned, but I'd like to mention about the geographical point. Cambridge is very good area for people who is working, especially in innovation and healthcare. I'm also working in the healthcare area as a management consultant for more than 10 years. So yeah, I was so moved. I was so surprised when I came here, because I found that there is tremendous ecosystem in Cambridge um, about around the innovation and healthcare, biotech, and that kind of thing. And I'm still working in innovation area in BCG, and I'm also meet a lot of people in this, especially like CRC in Cambridge or Harvard, MIT, many kind of event. So there is a lot of very unique point in the SFMBA program. That's all from me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And the questions are flowing in. Thank you for our attendees to engage. I'm seeing a lot of questions about just the logistics of moving, bringing your family, things like that. We'll get into that shortly. But you also did talk about the opportunities to experience action learning and the curriculum itself. So let's start there and we'll move through. So in terms of the MIT Sloan curriculum, just a few things to point out, and both of our alumni just mentioned this, that it is flexible and customizable. A big component of our curriculum is the hands-on action learning. The idea is that you're going to be working as a consultant for a project and a company that is facing current issues. And so you're really going to get a lot of exposure to current problems. You get to work on diverse teams to come up with those solutions. And there is a focus on innovation and data-driven decisions. And so as you're thinking about what type of business school experience that you're looking for, these are some of the things you can find in the MIT Sloan's curriculum. And as I pull up this map to give our audience a sense of what this year looks like, I'm wondering if both of our panelists can share a little bit, maybe something you learned while you were at MIT that you still use or reflect on today.
See, the entire program, so while we're talking about various features of the program, and I went through the Q&A, a lot of people have questions about the data orientation on the program, how quant heavy the program is. All those functional and subject oriented aspects of the program are very curriculum oriented. But the larger theme of the program, if you were to ask me, is the fact that this program aims at developing you as a leader. And we at Sloan thoroughly believe and live the part of leadership development. So, case in point, the first 30 days during the course of this program are utilized in you taking a whole bevy, a big battery of personality tests, psychometric tests, leadership development quizzes. You end up generating such a lot of data which is cross-examined by your peers, And then you are allocated three different types of coaches, one-on-one coaches, who will develop each and every part of your leadership journey through the 12 months that you are a part of the program. What stands out for me, what I use the most, is what I have learned during the one-on-one sessions with my coaches, what I have learned through the active feedback of my peers. And as Karen mentioned, the program is extremely international, it is extremely diverse. And both these points tend to be very glossy bullets on various MBA school posters. But what lies beneath these points is the ability of your peers who come from a radically different background, both in terms of industry and function, to be able to rip you apart as a layman. So somebody like one of my batchmates who works for a orange juice company asked me to explain how does an MRI scan work. Something as basic as that. And as the head of strategy for a business that is selling MRI machines, I had to get down to the weeds in explaining to him the difference between an anatomical scan and a physiological scan, etc. Right? So your peers are the real value add throughout your journey. Your professors are sources of knowledge, but they are also actively collating the knowledge of the class and then distributing it evenly to each one of you. So, my takeaway, first and foremost, is the leadership orientation with which now I look at how I work, how I contribute to my organization, how I contribute to the people who work with me. The second is the network. Extremely powerful, extremely easy to be a part of, and extremely helpful. They're standing for me whenever I need, whenever, wherever, right? And the last part is don't undermine the subject matter depth. Like MIT stands for something that is extremely driven by research and data. You will not be able to faff your way through this program. You will have to work hard with every subject, earn your grades, earn your letter scores, right? So it is data heavy, it is quant heavy, but that is what the beauty of the program is. You know, the world is moving towards tech and quant and data, right? So if you want to be a part of the wave that is driving or ruling the world of business, you've got to embrace it.
Thank you so much. And yes, please, Karen.
Okay. So the talking about the flexibility of the curriculum, I think that that is very important point of this program. But I also think that some of you may feel a bit nervous about that because you are not because 1 year looks very short. But I think that is very that is okay because this program was very, I feel that well planned, well organized to make us improve step by step during the summer and fall. Because like in summer semester, we are basically move along the basically same curriculum, and it makes us know each other and also get used to the life here and like yeah, what is MIT looks around, looks like that kind of thing. And after fall, there is also there is a lot of flexibility. So during summer term, there is yeah a lot of time to get used to it. So no need to be kind of like nervous or yeah think about how can I move with that kind of much flexibility or that kind of thing. But yeah, after fall, as everyone mentioned about, there is a lot of flexibility in the class choice. So I did like the I have basically three kind of opportunity to learn here. First one is a improvement to improve my leadership, and the second one is learning more about financial aspect of management, and the third one is about healthcare, my base area. So So I choose mainly the financial kind of class in the fall semester, and in spring semester, I took a lot of healthcare related classes. But yeah, I think that many people, other classmates, tend to choose different kind of classes, and they have also different kind of object here. So yeah, I think I love that kind of flexibility of taking courses there.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And hi, Anuja. Thank you so much for being here with us. We have our third panelist here, and we were just talking about the curriculum. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing your favorite class or something that really stood out to you from your Sloan Fellows experience.
Absolutely, Rachel, and thank you so much. There was a little bit of urgency at my side on something else, but I think this 1 year, what was the best thing was the kind of opportunity I had to pursue the classes, which I would not have done in ordinary. So, just getting out of the comfort zone and learning the stuff, which typically as an engineer I would not have pursued. So I went through and learned the basic of economics, which was something which really helped me in understanding how the long term capital investments and commitments are made by the companies. Secondly, there was another class on I ecosystem, which is taught by Fiona Murray and Phil Burton. Again, so pertinent for Asia, because it talks about how to promote innovations in different social and demographic and economical context. Something that might work for the developed nations may not work for the developing economies, or vice versa. So understanding those basics, those experience, and talking to everyone around it, and discussing those aspects with so many different people who ordinarily I wouldn't have spoken to or discussed with, because it was an entirely different world, was something really, really interesting for me.
That's great. Thank you so much. And before I move on, so we're just wrapping up curriculum. So I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add about your experience with the curriculum, but of course, please introduce yourself. I had the other panelists talk a little bit about the sector they worked in pre-MBA, and then where they are and what they're doing now. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about that. And if there's anything else you wanted to add about your experience with the curriculum, that would be great.
Absolutely. So, hi guys, I am Anuja Katyan. I look after government and industry affairs for Corteva. Corteva is the only US headquartered pure play agri tech company, earlier also known as Dow DuPont Agri Division. We are a Fortune 500 company and present in a lot of agri input areas, whether it's agrochemicals, biologicals, or biofertilizers, or seeds, from hybrid to gene editing to GM and everything. I look after government affairs and policy related to the agriculture sector across all the 23 countries in Asia Pacific. So starting from Pakistan in the west, most till New Zealand in the southern hemisphere. And this involves working with a lot of very different grassroots requirements. So working with the smallholder farmers, where gender is an issue, where mechanization is an issue, where vote bank politics is also plays a key role. So working with all these kind of diverse thought processes and emotional thought processes to make sure that the food security continues in the Asia. And it's become even more important in Asia because here it's not just about food security, it's also about protection of democracy and civil rights. Foods is the basic building block for all kind of Maslow's hierarchy, and if we don't have nutritious, affordable food available for the masses in the geography where 60% of the world population lives, then we are looking at some really severe unrest and impacts. And I work with all these policymakers to ensure that the countries and the farmers and the consumers are put together and are prepared for this. And I actually took a sector change before joining Corteva after finishing my Sloan Fellows MBA. I worked with Rolls-Royce, which is an aerospace and defense firm. Intermittently, I also worked with AstraZeneca, which is a pharma company. And for close to 10 years, I worked with a lobby group. I continue to be based in India, was my preferred location because of the family commitment. But I work with the teams across these 23 countries to work on the policy areas. I also hold a engineering in electronics and communication, and I also have a prior MBA in technology management. A few things that I really loved, and the reason that I wanted to pursue this program was action-based learning. So I took part in the sustainability lab. I was part of the Israel lab. I also took part in those innovation-related programs that continue to happen, and served as a subject matter expert for Asia Pacific for a lot of different initiatives that are very EMBAs and the SFMBAs continue to work on. So, those were other few more highlights for me while working, or rather while studying at Sloan Fellows.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for sharing that. Okay, wonderful. So we have a lot of questions about the community. So I am going to move forward, but if you think of anything else you wanted to add, of course, we can come back to curriculum. So we're going to talk a little more about the community and how this impacts a transition. For many of our audience, our international students would be relocating. So we're going to talk about that, what this also means for family, if you relocated with your family and those kinds of things. And then just generally the MIT ecosystem, the clubs and conferences that you were able to participate in, and then the focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So as we're moving through this, just to give you a sense of what our community looks like, a little bit more, the amount of alumni we have, the countries represented, how many active companies our alumni are working for, and the jobs creation, right? So this is a big picture of the Sloan Fellows network. But I'm wondering if we could start a little bit, if you could talk about that transition period from industry back into academics. Was that intimidating for any of you? And if it was, how did you overcome that? So talk a little bit about moving from your professional life into this academic setting. And anyone can start.
So see, the transition between industry life to academia is not easy. However, personally, I went through that transition when I was preparing for my GMAT. Right? So I went to that student mode and probably never came out of it, and that kind of helped. Second, when you get into MIT and when you are in that, group of extremely talented academicians who have gone on to do great things professionally, you have no choice but to cope up. So I did not feel stuck up. I did not feel there was any defined or a definitive moment of transition when I was jumping from one ship to the other, because it was so rampant. And honestly, you will not get a time to be able to register the change if you are a part of the program. So I wouldn't personally, I wouldn't attribute too much about this change from industry to academia, because one, you have to be really driven to be able to be a part of this competitive program, right? So when you are selected, I can assure you, you'll get selected when you're ready for this program, right? The selection process will weed things out in your application if you're not there still. This is just the honest fact, right? So if you're a part of the program, be confident you're already there, like you have been selected to make the transition. Second, on the MIT community, extremely vast, extremely deep, both. For people who are studying on the SFMBA program, a lot of questions I read on the Q&A tab are about how to cope up with work pressure, how much time do you get for activities, for family, for life outside of campus. One, the campus is like a city. It is a self-sufficient city which has everything for everybody, right from your kids to your significant others and partners to yourself. Academically, sports-wise, extracurricular activities, everything is on the campus. And the campus, I mean, Cambridge and MIT are interchangeable for me, right? Everything in and around MIT is Cambridge, but everything around Cambridge is MIT, right? So you will not feel left out, and neither will you be too bothered about what are your wife and kids doing while you're at school. they will find enough and more reasons to be busy. And personally, in my case, my wife and my kids had a more packed calendar, social, academic, and outside than I had as a student or during my networking time. So rest assured, MIT has already thought about this for decades. So it is already solved, right? And the last point is you will have to be extremely good at rationing time and identifying what is something that you cannot let go during this program. MIT and Sloan as institutions have so much to offer that 5 years of curriculum might not be sufficient for you to pull out everything that you want to learn. You will have to be extremely good at letting go things for the cost or at the cost of something that you cannot let go. If you fail or if you struggle at that list of priorities, whether it is professional or academic, then you will probably have a hard time balancing the workload or the load of finding a job, starting a company, etc. So, if you are becoming a part of this program, the only muscle that I feel must be extremely well developed is your ability to prioritize and be very clear about letting go of things that you like to do but you will not be able to do. There is just so much to do at MIT that you cannot complete in a year or maybe even 5 years.
That's really great advice. Thank you so much. Okay, wonderful. Karen or Anuja, anything else you'd add about the community experience or the transition?
Absolutely, if I may go next. So Puru and I, we are from the same batch, same course, and the beauty of MIT and the program is that while he was there with his family, my family was back home. And not even for a single moment I thought that I'm missing my family. I mean, of course, there's a physical distance, there's a time zone differences, etc. But this extended community, it just embraces you, and there is something so touching about it. So there was not even a single moment where I thought that I'm away from my family, or I need some support on something. People were going out of their way to support it. It was more like that extended big Indian family kind of feeling that I've always got. What is very important in the program is to have some kind of clarity that what do you want to do in this next 1 year. And it is important because there is just so much to do, and you will always get confused and influenced, or um, just start following someone else because everything is exceptional. So I had that clarity very much that I want to focus on ESG, sustainability, and the frontier markets, which made up around 60% of my electives. The rest of the 40% was more a hit and try kind of thing, which I just wanted to learn for the sake of it. But it also requires you to be disciplined. A disciplined approach is extremely important. The discipline in terms of putting your thoughts out there for the rest of your study groups, your friends, your families, letting people know what is acceptable, what is not acceptable to you. And everyone, accepts those thoughts when it comes, when it's very direct, when everyone shares it. So my only recommendation to the group and the prospective applicants is going to be, when you reach there, you will just love it. But be a little disciplined about what you want to do and how you want to do, how much of the time you want to put in studying, networking, community building, some kind of other extracurricular, or simply, exploring the East Coast and things like those. Just ration that time, because the moment you ration that time, your life is going to be extremely easy. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely, extremely chaotic.
Great, thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Karen?
Yeah, talking about transition from the professional life to the academia life, I think Purushottam already mentioned about GMAT. Yeah, that was a bit tough part, but I feel that the SFMBA program thinks our professional experience more important than in normal kind of younger people's MBA. And also, I feel that someone wrote in Q&A window, but yes, there are a lot of opportunity to take some classes with 2 years MBAs or other kind of programs in Sloan Fellow in Sloan. And in that time, our 10 years or more experience in the professional life was very helpful, I feel. We know because we know already about what is like the real business, and we already have some tough experience in that, and we know the kind of live example of the case work. So yeah, I think that the SFMBA um, require us more about our professional experience. So I think that is not so tough like you are thinking about now. So that is one thing. And the second point is that talking about the family friendly community. Yeah, I love this program because many of the classmates have kids, and as I already talked about, I have 8 years old and 7 years old, two kids, and yeah, they of course they couldn't talk any of English when we first came here, but finally they found many friends in the community in their age throughout the many kind of seasonal event with family, because SFMBA, yeah, thanks for SFMBA team. There is a lot of family-friendly seasonal event like the pool party with family or apple picking or yeah, um, I forgot the detail, but there's a lot of things. So and yeah, I think almost every week or every 2 weeks, I went to the Sloan building with my family for some kind of family friendly event. That was very good for my family to know about the international culture and the yeah and the other friend outside of our country's community. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear. And we will be able to provide any answers to questions for our audience around our services that are provided and the type of events that are provided. So for any of you that are thinking about moving your family, if you're admitted, we can help support any questions that you have through our admissions office. So please let us know. Okay, the next category, we see many topics, many questions about this in the chat in terms of the career path that each of you have chosen. What did that look like? What type of supports did you get? Those kinds of things. So when you're thinking about the Sloan Fellows program, just a few things to mention about our career supports. Our Sloan Fellows are offered executive coaching. We do have access to our career development office, and so you really are able to lean on the folks here at Sloan in your transition. Now, many of the people in our Q&A are asking about pivoting and what that looks like. And so we really are trying to make sure that regardless of the industry you're coming from and hoping to move into, that we can build all of the access and skill into your MBA experience to support that pivot or to support that growth. And our folks here have talked about the leadership and all those things that they're getting. There is also support around our extended networking, making sure that you meet each other. And so that is a theme that I've heard from each of you about how many people you're meeting and how many people your families have been able to meet and those kinds of things. And so the approach of using this MBA to either pivot or grow, that is something we see often and we're prepared for here at MIT Sloan. A few things to break this down a little bit more about what this looks like. Executive coaching is offered individually and in teams. Our career development office offers a career core and an advisors hub. And then our extended networking means that you're meeting not only Sloan Fellows, but you're also able to meet other program attendees, so in the executive degrees, in those action learning labs that many of our panelists mentioned. You're in those classes with 2-year MBA students, with Masters in Finance students, PhD students sometimes, and then Harvard students can cross-register. So you really get an opportunity to meet many people in those classes, in many of the electives that we offer here. So I'm wondering if you could just share a little bit about what you were exposed to during your MBA as it relates to career development, what stands out to you, what was the most impactful, and please share that for our audience. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay, I go first.
Yes, please.
Executive coaching, worth its weight in gold, diamond, platinum, whatever precious metal that you can think of. Extremely valuable. It plays disproportionate role in your development as an individual and as a leader. I would not trade it for anything else during my experience. Probably one of the best things that I've ever did was to sit down with these extremely experienced veteran coaches who've seen probably 15 or 20,000 kids graduate into leaders in the past 30 years. And then appreciate the feedback of your friends who see you not only in class, outside in class, in a bar, on the sports field, and then give you very valuable insights about things that could be lying in your dark shadow zone, right? So executive coaching is probably the apex. It's the capstone of my personal experience. Career development office, it is a support system. Don't depend on it. So that is probably a big message, especially for Indian students, because all the Indian campuses are typically tailored to provide campus placements. Career development office for tenured senior professionals being a part of the Sloan Fellows MBA means a very different level of support and a very different level of handholding. So be extremely clear on what the CDO would do for you and what you have to do for yourself. Extended networking opportunities, they are a trap. You will meet tons and tons of extremely smart, driven people who could do a bunch of things for furthering your professional career interests after your MBA. But as I say, it's a trap because you can only pursue a handful of those introductions and those people meaningfully. Please remember, you're meeting rank strangers and you are expecting or demanding favors out of them. You can only do that once you've managed to build enough relationship, created that chemistry for that person to trust you enough to help you in your career journey. So it's like a 2 by 2 matrix of depth versus breadth. You will only be able to fish out valuable lessons, valuable support from your networking once you've built both depth and breadth in those relationships. So I would err for quality over quantity. Don't earn 200 business cards during your MBA, earn 20 business cards, but ensure that each of these 20 people know you by your first name and remember what you've done before your MBA and what is it that you want to do post MBA. Right? So those are my feelings on these three bullets.
Thank you. Anything else you two would like to add?
Very much aligned with what Guru said, but just one extra point there. Like for me in executive coaching, it was not just the coach that mattered. It was that select group or the team that was allocated to me, where we realized, what are the bottlenecks I'm facing in that executive development. So we worked in a group fashion or a paired fashion as a mentor-mentee kind of thing, where there was this person sitting in the class and sending me WhatsApp and reminding me you are doing it again, kind of thing. So that kind of immediate check on me really helped me. So In executive coaching, our coach tells us about our blind spots, what we need to focus on, which is based on, the general 360-degree reviews and the various other reviews around it. But it's that dedicated insights that those 5 people as part of my executive coaching team shared with me about me, that what works and what I should probably drop or downplay, was something really, really helpful. In terms of CTO, use them as a ref check, as a sounding board of what you want to do. They may or may not further the career or your expectation depending upon your sector, your geography, what you want to do next. In my case, that was not the thing. I think I was the only person in that group of 100 plus students that was working on public policy thing. So I didn't have those kind of expectation. When I went through the database, it was close to just 3 or 5 of Sloan Fellows doing something similar. But the beauty is that I am connected with all of them now. So whenever there's something happening in any part of the world, you have that sounding board to quickly connect and see that what is the matter, what is at the crux of it. Same goes for extended networking. It's good to do, but it depends that what kind of networker you are. For me, I'm a very niche, small subset kind of networker. So I did it very selectively. I worked with the executive degree program. I worked with lots of Harvard students. I really enjoyed Women and Women Wednesdays, which is a weekly, weekly event kind of thing, to meet a lot of interested people. It brings that variety and that, much needed bump in your day-to-day interaction when you are not getting bogged down by the gray skies or the rain and snow, but you are just seeing that how much of different exciting work that people are doing. But I feel extended networking is something that all of us have to decide that how much we want to do and in what fashion. Only then it's helpful for us.
Yes, and finally, I finally decided to come back to the same company as I worked before, but so I didn't do real pivot kind of thing, but still I accomplished changing the geographical aspect. That means I moved from Tokyo office to Boston office. During that kind of transition, I used the CDO coach to know more about the US market and their requirement, because even in the same industry, Tokyo and Boston is totally different market, and the requirement and the professional kind of requirement is totally also different. So using CDO code is very good for me. Even I have 10 years or more experience in that industry. And the second point is that I also feel that classmate network is very useful for me to understand more about innovation system in Cambridge. And that is very important for me because Cambridge is, the very center of innovation in the world. So I think that it's very helpful for me to pursue my next career of like helping innovation as a consultant. And also, that is also a good opportunity for me to have a lot of opportunity to hear about the classmate career story. That is during the short chat between the classes, and also we have Muddy talk. That is opportunity. Yeah, everyone talk about their life and their career story. That is very good for me to like organize my career story, because that is my first. I think that actually my first time for me to take a lot of time to think about what is my career theme and what is my life theme, and that kind of thing. That's also a very good point to like proceed your career to the next step.
Thank you so much. And our time is flying by. I know that we're getting a lot of questions here. So I was hoping I'm going to ask 2 final questions. The first one, hopefully we have to be quick, but the first one, I'm wondering if we could talk about the experience in Sloan Fellows for any entrepreneurs out there. If anyone can speak to anything that they touched on, that would be great for entrepreneurs. Just a note for our audience, we are asking that our students are not working during this 1-year experience. And so we do ask that you step away from your ventures that you're working on, but we realize that that can be difficult at times. If anyone could speak about entrepreneurship resources you tapped into, that would be great. And then my final question is if you can think of a word or a phrase to explain your experience at MIT as part of the Sloan Fellows program to share with our audience, that would be great.
Okay. So entrepreneurship is the first love of all Sloanies. So Tata Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation is a magnet for the entire batch. All of us build startup plans, but then we realize that 10 and a half, 11 months is too quick for you to be able to raise Series A or Series B. And at the same time, you've got an intense coursework to do. Most importantly, don't let your entrepreneurial journey compromise your ability to know 109 other batchmates who will add much more value to you than any other course, right? So that's entrepreneurship happens in a massive way. A lot of our batchmates have seeded companies, they've gone on to raise capital, but they're not chasing it at the cost of the experience of the program or interaction with their batchmates. One question that I wanted to address on pivots and careers. There are three axes that most students, most careers are looking to focus on. One is your function, second is your industry, and third is your geography. You can pivot one or two out of these three. You cannot pivot all the three in these 10 months. If I was doing strategy in medical equipment in Asia, I cannot do agriculture and finance in Latin America. That is not what this MBA program is designed to do. So please measure your expectations and be very sure of what axes do you want to change after this program. Second point, the real value of this program will be measured 5, maybe 7 years after you graduate. That's the mileage. That's the kind of distance you'll have to give this program to do its magic. If you are myopic and you're trying to measure how successful is this program in generating a dollar shift on your pre-MBA and post-MBA salary or the designation pre-MBA and post-MBA, you might be really sorry for doing this, right? So don't do that. The real value of this program will shape up. Good things take time. Give them their due time. The one word that comes to my mind in terms of this program is life-changing.
Thank you. That was perfect. Such a great conclusion. Thank you so much. Anuja and Karen, what comes to your mind?
To me, it's the Nike slogan that is just do it. There is so much fun, exhilaration, and so many, shifting out of your comfort zone that I enjoyed every moment of it. And taking that mid-career break when I don't have to think about, a house mortgage or anything else, and my child can take care of himself, kind of thing. It was like getting back in that groove of 20s, learning new things, enjoying yourself, and just, coming back to the work all refreshed up. It makes sense if you know why you want to do it. So that driver why you want to pursue that program, if that is clear to you, then just go ahead and, take that 1 year off and enjoy it to the fullest.
Thank you. Such great advice.
Yeah, so let me only talk about shortly about the word or phrase. Yeah, I think already Prashad already mentioned about that, but for me, this program is also like the life changer, and this is the life changer for me, but not only for me, like for my whole family. I think that we had the best time in our life here, and our family bonding strengths. So I strongly recommend you to bring your family with you. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Thank you all for sharing this expertise. I know that our audience was taking notes and learning so much. For our audience out there, if we did not get to your question, time moved really quickly, but please use this email that's listed here on the slide. Our admissions team will get back to you very quickly if there are any outstanding questions. Of course, I did see some questions specifically about the application. We have a lot of events coming up to address each component of the application, as well as are available to answer questions. Thank you so much to our panelists. We've learned so much from you, and we so appreciate you giving your time to our prospective students. I hope everyone enjoys the next few weeks, and please let us know as you work towards our first deadline that we're here to help you apply. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good luck.